boy. Yeah, it's very cold here, so I'll trade you some of your hot weather for a little of our cool weather. We have not had spring yet. It's been winter here in the Pacific Northwest of the USA.
Right. Yeah, weird weather. In the northern part of the country, they are getting what do you call the snow, snowball. What do you call it? Snowflakes? No, not flakes. Actually, the snowballs in the northern area. So it's very funny weather.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
Hi, Tadita. Yes, very well. Thank you.
Good.
You've been very busy.
Yes, I have.
I was just telling Khalid how I will. Hi.
I'm Shaukat Hussain from Dean Group.
Hello, Shaukat sir. Where are you based, Shaukat sir?
I am from Lahore. I am working as COO of Dean Group, which is a textile group in Lahore.
Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah.
I was just mentioning to Khalid how he could send some warm weather to the Pacific Northwest of the USA because we have not had spring yet. It has been cold here. Yeah.
We have one day of summer and then we have cold British rainy weather again. So.
Yeah. Well, I think our weather's a lot like yours, Talita. Cool and wet. On the West Coast, we get a lot of rain, cool. And then we have 4 months in the summer that is absolutely gorgeous. Just perfect. 80 degrees, I guess, 25 or 28 degrees. And sun every day. It almost gets droughty, but it is absolutely perfect for, we have mountains and the ocean out here, and it's absolutely perfect for that. But you pay for it the other 8 months out of the year.
Yeah. My South African body misses the South African weather. That's all I can say, Steve.
Yeah.
Even 20 years living outside South Africa doesn't help.
Yeah, it must be beautiful. South Africa is beautiful. Yeah.
It's just so little winter, really. A summer's day in Britain could be 18 degrees. That's winter in South Africa because summer is 33. So,
yeah.
Karachi is sizzling with 40 degrees. And Lahore, I don't know. What's the temperature in Lahore?
Okay, hello everyone. I think people have already joined. So I hope you can hear me and see the screen.
We can't see you.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Okay, just let me keep it on here. Okay, so first of all, a warm welcome to our first webinar on this exciting program on Next Generation CFO Leadership Program that is organized by Hub of Finance Transformation. So today is basically the information session because lots of people have many questions about these programs, like they want to clarify what exactly we are going to cover, what value they are going to get from this program. So that's what we are going to cover. And all of the program instructors, I can see already they have started to join. So the format of today's session is just I will be giving you the overview of the overall program. And then we will invite each of the program instructor who are already with us to just give briefing of what they are going to cover and which topics they are going to cover and what the participant should expect from their area and how it can add value to their career or to their CFO office, or if they're aspiring to become the CFO in the near future. So as we all know, of course, we don't need to spend too much time on the changing role of CFO, as you know, the LinkedIn and the social media and professional network, they're already flooded with lots of talks going on the changing role of CFO from the back-end service provider to a more strategic partner to the business. So of course, I will not spend much time on it, and just I will share with you a couple of latest trends and the research work that's being done by CCA and IMA on the changing role of CFO. And then I will give you a quick overview of the overall program, what it is, what are its unique features, and how it can add value to your CFO office, or even if you are aspiring to become a CFO in the near future.
Sorry, you're gone on mute, Zishan.
Yes, we cannot hear you, Zishan.
Yeah. Okay, just I will close my camera so that it will not consume more bandwidth to be avoid any distraction during the program. So the format of the program is it's going to be almost 1 hour and 30 minutes webinar, and we are also live on our social media, LinkedIn, as well as on YouTube. So many people who are not in this call, but they are joining us from LinkedIn and so YouTube channel also, our followers, our subscribers who are already there. And any questions, if you have, you can just drop your questions in the chat box, or if you are joining from social media, you can just drop it on in the comment section of the LinkedIn or YouTube, wherever you are joining from. So whatever questions you have, you can, or if you are in the Zoom call, you can simply unmute yourself and speak, because we want to make it more interactive. And that's the purpose of this session, to give you and to clarify any questions or any concerns you have regarding this program. So you can ask, and me and our instructors, they will be happy to answer as maximum questions as possible. So before moving on, just those of you who are not aware about our organization, our academy, that is the HOFT Academy, Hub of Finance Transformation. So our vision is to form a global leader in the transformation of finance professionals, to become a global leader and transforming the finance career and finance professionals to the next generation of finance. And we have been quite successful in this journey, as I can show you on this next slide. Almost 3,000 mid to senior level finance professionals have attended our courses, our workshops, our webinar, podcasts from many different countries. As you can see on your screen, almost from many different regions, including Asia, Africa, America, South Africa, and Middle East, Europe. So almost, you can say, more than 15 to 20, almost 15 plus countries, people have already joined us, and they have already embarked on their transformation journey, because our main aim, our main core expertise in the area of transformation, the finance transformation, as well as their career transformation. And you can see their testimonials, their feedbacks on our website already, so I don't need to spend more time here. Also, we are the authorized training provider of Association of Finance Professionals. That is one of the emerging body for FPEC, for FP&A exams. As you know, this is one of the core area of focus for the CFO office as well. As FP&A, you know, they are playing more business-centric roles at the forefront to act as a business partner and to create value for the organization. So we are also their authorized training provider. We are training lots of finance professionals from different parts of the world to become FPEC qualified. We are training them, preparing them for the exams of AFP that is based out of the USA. And these are some of the training clients and the delegates who come from these different organizations to us. As you can see, many big organizations like Abbott, IBM, PwC, their delegates, they register with us on different workshops, training programs, and even there are some more also. We will update this one in our current year programs also. We got delegates from many other big companies, including the government organizations and very big transport companies as well. And these are our strategic partners. They are our, I can say, the key strategic partners, especially Finance Analytics Institute from USA, CFO.University, Aurora Predictions, and also Authentic Solution from UK. So all of our trainers, actually, they are also running their own academies, and they have decades of rich corporate experience. So that's the key strength. I will show that our team of this program, that's one of the key strength of this program, that our trainers are not the professors of university who have been in only in the training industry for a couple of years, but they are all practitioners. They have been the CFOs in a very large Fortune 500 companies like Oracle, IBM, Novartis, and I will show you in the next upcoming slides. So they have already worked as a CFO of a very large organizations who have already gone through a major finance transformation and digital transformation, who are already at the top of the maturity curve of the finance function. So of course, if you are learning from the CFO of SME who has never reached to that level, of course, he cannot share your practical experience. But these CFOs, they have already reached to that level where we are aiming for what's the vision of the finance or the future of finance is. So that's what we are going to cover, all of our instructors in this program. And as you all know, the expectations, because it is very important to understand the expectations of the CFO. Like, it's not about only within the finance, like we today talk about, okay, we have to improve efficiency, we have to become a business partner, but we have to understand what non-finance business functions are expecting from it, what business leaders, what CEOs and other industry and business leaders, what they are expecting from the CFO office or from the finance function. So of course, even if the business partner, as you can see, before moving on to the role of accounting and controlling in the start, for the last almost 10 to 12 years, there are many CFOs already who are acting as a business partner. Like now its term is more emerging these days, but they have been acting as a business partner by supporting in their mergers and acquisitions of the organization, risk and compliance and decision support. But now the emerging role of CFO is as the chief value officer. He has to create the value for not only the shareholders, but for the wide variety of stakeholders, managing the volatility and the complexity of the organization, of the business in which it is operating, delivering competitive cost advantage. And as we all know about the digital technology, we are living in digital era with emergence of digital technology. So he has to architect digital strategy by collaboration with the CIO or the CDO. Even yesterday, I was attending a very large summit that was organized by Khaleej Time in the Middle East. So there were leading CFOs of this region who attended. So we had a roundtables where we discussed about the possible collaboration between the CFO and the CIO. So the points raised were the CFO, they have to obviously impose the trust. They have to develop the trust. That's how they can collaborate with non-finance business function like CIO or COO or the CEO of the company. And for that, they should have a very strong understanding of the business, of the strategic objectives of the organization, so that they can achieve the strategic alignment and bring everyone on the same table. And also they should have a very good understanding of the emerging technologies, because if the CFO, he is talking with the CIO or chief technology officer, and he don't know how to leverage AI or blockchain or RPA, of course, he cannot do a very effective communication or conversation with them, right? Because he don't know how to leverage. So that's what we are going to cover a full module on the area of emerging technologies, where our experts in the area of digital technologies and emerging technology, they will be sharing their practical examples, insights, and experience. So according to this recent survey by KPMG, as you can see, what are the concerns of the CEOs? As I mentioned we have to understand what outside business, other business functions are thinking about CFO office, what they are expecting from the CFO office. So according to the survey, 45% of the CFOs, their concern is the lack of commercial and non-finance experience of the CFO. Means they don't have a very high understanding of the business acumen, because as we all know, in even our professional studies, our qualifications, professional accounting qualification, or even our master's degree, we have been trained more on the number side, right? We have to focus, we always been focused on the tangibility, objectivity, on the tangible assets, or on managing the numbers. So of course, they are not involved much on the business side. So this is one of the major gap that we can say the expectation gap is there, like lack of commercial and non-finance experience. Then the leadership skills, this is also one of the very important area, because most of the finance professionals, they are focusing too much on analytics, on technical skills, on business partnering, but they're not focusing on the development of their soft skill. And when you reach to the level of CFO, or if you aspire to reach to the level of CFO, you have to demonstrate a very strong leadership, your personal leadership, your public leadership, how you can collaborate, how you can build relationship with non-finance business function, because you will be acting as, you will be a part of the board of directors or the board of the company. So of course you have to demonstrate a very strong leadership capabilities. So that's what also we are going to cover in our program. Then 38%, as you can see, they are narrowly focused. Narrowly focused means they don't have a much integrated view of the business. They don't have much integrated business approach where they can think for the overall strategic alignment of the organization. Then the lack of big picture vision of means they don't have the vision of, they don't align the vision of the finance function with the vision of the overall organization. And then the weak interpersonal skill, that's also part of the soft skills, as I talked about. This is just the last slide before I move on to the part of main CFO program that we have. These are the areas of focus for the CFO. Of course, regulation, many people think that CFO has to move from the role of regulator or from ensuring the compliance to the level of strategic advisor, but still there will be lots of new regulations in terms of cybersecurity or emerging technology. So of course, this role will still be there. CFO has to ensure the regulation, the compliance, and then the globalization, of course, the global impact that's going on. Best example is of Russia and Ukraine war and many other global events and their impact on the business and technology. Of course, it's the main area of focus, and the risk that also include the risk of fraud, the cybersecurity risk. So this all also we are going to cover. Then the transformation part, of course, it's very important because transformation intelligence is something different. It's not about the operational excellence of the CFO office or his operation. Like obviously most of the CFO, they are very good at, they have an operational excellence. They know how to run the finance function. But when it comes to the transformation, they should have a transformative capability, transformation intelligence as well. Then of course, they have to manage all the stakeholders. Stakeholder management is one of the key areas. Then the strategy, they have to involve in the strategy formulation, execution, and how to review and evaluate the strategy. And then the reporting part, of course, and that's a part of performance management. And this is very important part. And the last is the talent and capability, because CFO, of course, he cannot deliver the results or manage alone. He has to build the team, the very strong team within his finance function, including the FP&A, finance, treasury, accounting, tax. So that's all also we will be covering in the CFO readiness assessment of our program. So now just I will like to quickly take you to our website where we have this program. So I can show you there. Just give me a minute. And then we will, after this, we can move immediately to our first speaker, Steve Rosberg. Okay, I hope you can see my screen, everyone.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so this is the Next Generation CFO Leadership Program. I would like to quickly take you through some of its unique features that are that we are covering. First of all, the core curriculum, I will shed some light on it in the next slide. Then the most important part of this is the practical application, because, you know, it's not only about the knowledge. Like, we are not here to give you the knowledge of analytics or strategy or leadership. We will work on different assignments, assessments, simulation, exercises, real life case studies from multiple industries, and you will be working with us as our partners. As yesterday I was talking with our instructor, Steve, he told I will be calling them as our partner, not our students, because we will be working them and we will be partnering with them to improve their business results, from advance, enhance their career. So we will be working more on the skills development, not only just because it's all about the implementation. Because if you take lots of knowledge that is already available. But if you're not able to implement it, of course, you cannot, it's of no use. It will not add any value. Then we have world-renowned faculty, as I will introduce you later. Then you have a choice of electives that you can choose. Then the peer learning part is very important, that where you will be covering, you will be networking with the global finance leaders who will be joining from different parts of the world. So of course, there is an exciting networking opportunity. You will be learning from each other's experience. You will get lots of access to lots of tools like Power BI, AI-based analytics. And the most important thing is the success coach who will be working with you one-on-one, because it's very easy to design any program and deliver it. The trainer comes and deliver lots of them with lots of material, and even if they do exercise, but if you not understand the participants' individual circumstances, what is their individual challenges they are facing in their career, in their organization, of course, it's of no use, right? So that's why here we will tailor all of these sessions according to the specific needs and specific challenges that our participants are facing. So that's what CFO coach will be working with them on this one. So these are all the modules that we will be covering in this program, including strategic business partnership, accelerated finance leadership, digital transformation, data analytics, and at the end, the performance management and the reporting part. And apart from this, there will be a personal PDP development plan that Steve Roswell. Now, without any further ado, I would like to ask Steve to take from here and just give a quick overview of what he's going to cover, and then we will move on to the next. So Steve.
That sounds great. Thanks, Mohammed. I mean, I know how hard you've worked to put this together. This is a unique program. I mean, I'm amazed at the breadth and the number of calls you had where you're saying, what do you think of this idea? What do we think of this idea? And you kind of encapsulated all these, really important CFO concepts and wrapped around, some professional development around it, and then have these optional electives, which I just think is brilliant. So really appreciate all the work you've done to put something like this together. It's no small task, that's for sure. So, my role in this, for the most part, will be working with the, all the students, I guess, the learners, on developing a professional development plan. And I'll be working closely with the other instructors to be able to make sure we're getting the most from them related to the professional development plan. So let me see if I can grab just a quick presentation to show you kind of what what you'll go through on the professional development part. Can everyone see my screen okay? Give me a thumbs up or a holler.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So again, my role is to help you kind of go through the 6 months program in a way that you kind of focus on yourself, as well as your corporate needs, as well as all the learning you're going to get from the other instructors. So with that, I'll be focused on kind of working with you on a professional development plan and a little bit about kind of how we work at CFO.University. So our framework, and this I think really fits in well to what you'll be learning from the instructors. Our framework starts with kind of these, what we call the 4 pillars, of which leadership is really an important pillar. And you just heard Mohammed talk about that. And then we've got 3 other pillars: our accounting pillar, our finance pillar, and our treasury pillar. And, a lot of FP&A fits into finance, the controller function, accounting, and all your cash side, cash raising, cash management on the treasury side. So, there's a lot of other important things CFOs do, but this is still kind of the core part of what a CFO role enables. And that leadership part encircles all of them. So that's in each of our different pillars is supported by some core competencies. And you can look more about that, but I think you'll find that it really fits in from the beginning of a company and the governance, internal controls, and moves through the recording and activities and reporting is all our accounting function. When we go to the finance function, it's all about the planning process and forecasting and investment analysis for new investments. And so the FP&A role, where we're really giving a forward look on the, from the CFO's responsibility. And then, of course, treasury treasury ends up being that area where we're raising money, we're managing cash, and risk management becomes really important when we take third-party money on. So our framework kind of hits these four pillars. And I think it's important to know because that's what we measure. And I'll talk about the CFO readiness assessment. That's what we're measuring when you take the CFO readiness assessment. Of course, then we have our foundation, and this is really important. We talked about talent. Acquiring talent is really important. Mohammed just mentioned that. The technology piece, you're going to get a lot of technology in this course with some real experts, and then developing your career. So think of the PDP, the professional development plan, as kind of your career, developing your career, and then being able to use that to develop the people who work for you as well. So, I give you a bit of a framework and a foundation to start from, but then to talk specifically about how that fits into this course and kind of my role, my key role in this course, I guess, would be going through. That's our little toolbox. It just fits together. But the first thing we'll do, so I'll go through the steps. So before the course even starts, you'll be taking a CFO readiness assessment and a survey. So this is two things. One we've developed, it's been taken by over 7,800 finance leaders, our readiness assessment. And I'll show you a little bit what we measure, but then we'll be supplementing that with a survey from many of the instructors. So there'll be a little pre-work, but it'll really help them be able to craft their courses to your needs. And of course, the readiness assessment helps us develop the professional development plan. So that's the first thing we'll end up doing is before the course even starts, we'll go through the CFO readiness assessment and you'll take a short survey. And I wouldn't expect that to take over 30 minutes, depending on the questions from the instructors. It could take a little longer, but that's a huge value add for you because you're going to get something more tailored to your needs and your instructors will be better prepared. And of course, for the professional development plan, it really is our base for the professional development plan. The next thing, so to give you an idea what the professional development or what the CFO readiness assessment measures, you'll see on this box that there's, or on the top, accounting, finance, treasury, and leadership. And then you'll see all the core competencies on the bottom. So you'll get a score and you'll get to see that score relative to the 7,800 people who have already taken it. So you'll know kind of where you stand as far as kind of where your strengths and where your development needs are. And what we'll do with that, and this again, we'd like to get it done before your first course starts, is we'll have a call. You and I will have a call and we'll go over this and we'll start developing your professional development plan. So we'll use the CFO readiness assessment and the survey that you filled out, and we'll spend a few minutes to make sure we know what you want to get out of the course, what your issues are at work that you want to hone in on. And we'll use the readiness assessment to help us do that. And from that, out of that phone call, I will develop with you a professional development plan. And this is a few pages that we do use some CFO.university information on it, but to help guide you in where your development's going to be. Some of that will be specifically in the coursework that you'll be doing later on. We'll match it to that and make sure that there's, if there's special needs in there, your instructors know that. But mostly this is for you to kind of work through over the next 6 months and to use, as you will with your people, however you want to use this. But for you specifically, we'll tackle kind of the information from your readiness assessment and our phone call, and we'll create a plan for you. And it's a 45-minute phone call. I will do the rest of the work on that so that what you get is a document that says, okay, this is where I agree with Steve. This is what we're going to do. Or maybe I need to talk to him again and we need to adjust a few things. But this will clearly be, for your professional development. And then, so that will all happen if you sign up early enough. So hopefully we can't all do this in the last day. I won't be able to get all the phone calls in, but before the first course starts. If it doesn't, we'll have to travel into the next weeks, but we'll try to get this all done. So you already have a great start and a great platform to start from before you ever attend Toledo's classes starting in July. And then, so the next thing, every month after that, this group, the group of students will have a team call every month. So we'll get on a 90-minute phone call and we'll talk however much you want about your issues, the issues going on in the courses, and how we can help each other. And I'll lead those calls, and it'll help us stay on track with our development individually. And this is part of what Mohammed mentioned with the teamwork side of things, using your other classmates to help you get better. So this is all part of that. And I'll be involved in those as well. So kind of in recap, this wraparound professional development program, which certainly isn't the core of all the learning taking place with all these brilliant instructors you have. They're going to deliver some incredible knowledge and some real learning. But this will help you kind of on a long-term basis wrap that into your development and career plans. So we're looking for the CFO readiness assessment to help us with that. The professional development plan will be developed with you specifically, and then we'll make sure along the way that we're using these tools, just to help you get better. So I'm really looking forward to that whole process and getting to meet you along the way.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve, for giving the overview of the PDP and the assessment. I think that's one of the unique value of this program, that we can understand each and every participant's individual's circumstances, what their challenges they're facing. Thank you very much. Now the next is our another instructor, Mr. Khalid Noor, who is the ex-CFO of Novartis, Pakistan, and currently he's also the country CFO for one of the leading pharmaceutical company. So Mr. Khalid, now over to you.
Right. Thank you so much, Zishan and Steve. What a great introduction to the program. So I'll just share the outline of the first module of the program. Very exciting. Just let me open my presentation here. Can you see? Hang on, no, it's just, this is wrong. Hang on.
We can see the screen.
Yeah, just give me a second.
Sure.
Some reason it's not going in the presentation mode.
From view, you can make it view on the top right. Yeah. Here.
Outline. Very strange. Never happened. Ah, there you are. Okay. Hello, everybody. I am going to be taking the very first module of strategic business partnering. So there are two elements of this module. The first element is that of the strategy, understanding the process of strategy. And the other part is the business partners. So I and Mohammed Al-Rubi will be facilitating your program. So I'll be delivering the strategic content, and Al-Rubi would be delivering the softer skills that is required as part of the strategy formulation to become an effective business partner. And you'll be hearing a lot about the business partner throughout the program. So a business partner is actually literally an owner of the entire process and the organization. So it's not a support function, but you actually own the strategy, you own the performance. And to do that, you have to be a team player, and that's where the business partnering skills comes in. The program, so I'll be covering 5 modules, 5 days with you, and the plan is that before I do that, let me give you an introduction of myself so that it can give you I can't get the page down. Here is a brief profile. So I've got a lot of experience in finance and HR at board level, and I've worked with FMCG company like Unilever and pharmaceutical company, global pharmaceutical company at Novartis. Currently, I'm working at a local pharmaceutical company where I'm holding the post of CFO, Director of Finance, HR, and Information Systems at a local company. My prior roles, as I said, that it was at a global pharma company, Swiss company, Novartis, where I worked as a CFO from 2008 to 2020. In my last 2 years, I was country head of HR, which is very exciting. I mean, moving from finance career to HR was really very challenging and very exciting part, where I was to manage the best asset, the most valuable asset of the organization, which is people. So it was a fantastic experience where you're working with strategy and you're working with people strategy and you're working with finance and marketing. So it's great. Prior to that, I was working with Unilever from 1989 to 2008, about 19 years of experience there. And most of my work at Unilever was that of a finance business partner. So I worked with their detergent group, I worked with their tea business, I worked in their food business. The only business I didn't do work was their ice cream business. But and over there, most of the time was spent on category strategy, brand strategy, building brands. So it was very exciting and very rewarding career at Unilever. Prior to that, I served worked as audit training at KPMG London office. Then I joined Unilever after returning from London, and strangely, after studying for accountancy, I felt that I don't know enough about marketing, and therefore I embarked upon my MBA program just to survive in Unilever as to what is market share, what is the brand strategy, what is the share of voice, what is so a lot of new concepts I learned at both Unilever as well as at the IBA. But my search for learning about strategy, I could not really be satisfied. So I went to Harvard. They were offering a very excellent course on strategy. And I went there and it was a great experience. I learned about the strategy, about various, I mean, they do case methodology and you learn a lot of experiences of several organizations. And I made friends with the professor of strategy. And when I came back, I said, I must capture the key lessons. And I developed a strategy playbook, which I shared with the Harvard professor. And I'll be sharing with you my strategy playbook in the program, as well as a lot of case studies that I learned at Harvard, as well as after that. Also attended the advanced management program at LUMS, very good program, residential program, where the focus was business strategy and functional strategy. So that was a bit about myself. My passion has been to learn. And I also did the MECA Strategy CFO program a couple of times. And you would be wondering why, because that is something you keep on learning every time. So the content that I'll be covering in the program include strategic CFO as an effective business partner in value creation. So strategy is all about creating value for all the stakeholders in the business, especially your customers. So it will be covering the corporate purpose and vision. We'll be discussing several types of strategy at the corporate strategy, business strategy, and functional strategy. We'll talk about the value proposition and value creation and the finance role in strategy formulation. And one of the case studies that we'll cover is the Apple computers or the Apple iPhone or Apple iPhone. So it's, I think it's the best company where people are really interested in understanding these key success factors behind Apple. So we'll cover that. The second topic that is very important from finance point of view is the strategic analysis, doing external analysis, and we'll cover SWOT, Porter 5 forces. We'll also do, very importantly, internal analysis, evaluating companies' resources and capabilities and its competitiveness. And a very important topic, which is often neglected, is talking about business model, a very powerful tool to actually capture business strategy. So we'll cover a few business models of companies here. The third topic that, a very important topic that we need to cover is the strategy formulation. And there we have, the main thing is strategy is all about making choices. So where to play means which product, which services, which geography, which segment you want to target, and how to win is the strategy part. So we'll also cover the Michael Porter's 5 generic competitive strategy. Michael Porter is the father of strategy at Harvard, and we'll cover that. Then more recent development is the Blue Ocean strategy. We'll cover that as to how Blue Ocean strategy is far more creative and profitable compared to Red Ocean, where a lot of companies are offering same products. We'll also cover strategic priorities and strategy map. In the fourth session, we'll cover the strategy execution. And there we'll be talking about, especially very important for finance people, is the strategy resource allocation and building capability, organization capability to execute the strategy. We'll also cover the balanced scorecard, which is a great strategy execution tool where you keep your focus. We'll also talk about strategy communication and change management, very important for strategy execution. And in our last session, you'll do actually a hands-on case analysis, and where a group of students, participants will be doing corporate strategy, another group will be doing a business strategy presentation, and yet another group will be doing a functional strategy session. So we'll conclude with a hands-on case analysis where you'll get confidence in making strategy. So this is something, this is a brief outline of the program, and I'm sure you'll find it very practical, very, so we won't be teaching you as such, but we'll be sharing you the tips of how, as a finance leader in your organization, you can become an effective business partner in the strategy formulation session. So look forward to having you in the program, and a very exciting journey ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Khalid, for sharing your deep expertise in the area of strategy. And of course, this is one of the core module of the strategy that we'll be starting with, covering with the strategy formulation, execution, as obviously the CFO has to play a very pivotal role in the strategy of the organization. So in the same module, we will be having with us our another instructor, Mr. Mohammed Al-Rubi, who is also a globally renowned FBP, Finance Business Partnering and FP&A expert. And those of you who are using LinkedIn, who I think most of you already know him. So without any further ado, I would ask Mohammed Al-Rubi to please share the overview of what he's going to cover in this module 1 of strategic business partnership. Mohammed, over to you now.
Thank you, Zishan. Hello, everyone. Today, I'm gonna tell you a quick brief about the content, which is about finance business partnering, how to transform the finance functions from being a traditional controlling function or traditional accounting functions to be a true business partners who be able to create value to the organization. I'm gonna share with you the key 5 pillars to build a strong finance business partnering, to be a true function that can create value to our stakeholders. I believe finance is not just a supporting functions or a service function. Finance is a function that connecting the dots, has a unique opportunity to access all data, which help all the organization to create
Mohammed,
value.
Ajit has asked for your introduction, your background.
Yes, exactly. I'm gonna share my screen right now. Okay, so let me give you a quick brief about myself. I'm a global finance leader with 20 years of experience in global multinational companies like Johnson & Johnson, Novartis, Allergan, Takeda, and Energizer. I handled multiple international senior roles across Middle East, India, Africa, Southeast Asia. I'm an international finance speaker, certified CIMA from UK, FBAC from US, and I hold MBA as well. So we're gonna cover in the finance business partnering part the key 5 pillars for the successful finance business partnering. So we're gonna talk about number 1, mindset. We cannot make any change even if we have the best system in the world. If we have the best function in the world, we cannot make any change without changing the mindset. So we're gonna focus on how to change the mindset of your team, or if you're gonna hire a new team, what are the key mindset you have to find in you the potential candidates. So we're gonna learn how to change the mindset and how to build the right mindset for finance business partnering. For example, curiosity and continuing learning. Curiosity, what is behind number? Curiosity to build relationships. How to be a bias for actions, not just being a consultant telling the company that you have to increase price or you have to improve that process or whatever. It's all about leading the actions and being a true problem solver. Also from process to relationships, from tell to sell, from complexity to simplicity, challenging to coaching. So there are a lot of things that we need to change the mindset for our functions to be a true business partners. Then we're gonna move to the second part, which is very important, which is the skill set. After having the right mindset, we need to have the right skill set for business partnering. So we're gonna learn how to build relationships, how to improve our business acumen. And as you know, that business acumen is our admission ticket to any decision-making table. Our commercial team and our strategic management will not allow finance to contribute to the strategic decision making without proving that we understanding our business very well. Also, other skills that we have to develop, which is turning data into insights, storytelling, strategic thinking. So there are a lot of skills we need to develop to be a true business partners. So if you have the right mindset, having the skill set, the third pillar you need to build is having the right technology or the right systems, which will helping us to develop the right analytics, prescriptive, predictive, diagnostic, and descriptive analytics. So we need a system that helping us to provide all the needed supports for decision making. We need a user-friendly system, how to ensure that we have a high quality data from our systems. So we're gonna learn what are the key technology and the key systems we need to support decision making. And then if you have the right system, right mindset, right team, but your team doesn't have capacity, doesn't have time, how can they create value? So we're gonna learn how to free up your team's time, how to increase the capacity of your team to create value. So we're gonna focus on how to eliminate all the unnecessary tasks, how to automate process, how to delegate to the third parties or the other functions, and how to reallocate your team's time on the high value adding activities. And last but not least, we shouldn't forget culture. If you have all the previous pillars without having the right culture, you will not be able to create value. So we're gonna learn what are the right culture for finance to be able to create value. We're gonna talk about agility, transparency, trust, collaboration, and diversity. And those are the key 5 pillars we're gonna cover along with very practical business cases. I'm gonna share with you my experience in transforming different functions across different companies, how to I transformed many finance functions in different organizations, different industries, from being a traditional controlling functions to be a true business partners who are really adding value to the business. That's all from my side, and looking forward to having an interesting learning session. I'm gonna now leave the floor to Talita, our global leader in coaching and finance. So the floor
Thank you
is
very
yours,
much,
Talita.
Mohammed, for giving such a nice interview, a nice overview of the role of business partnering. And I think that's one of the key role, obviously, the CFO has to play to become a partner with all other business functions. Now, moving on, I think if we add on to the business partnering, one of the most important attribute and you can say the capability of CFO is the leadership capability that he has to demonstrate to become more influential, more impactful leader in the overall organization. So that's what our leadership expert, Ms. Talita, who is also the leadership coach and also the ex-CFO of BMW from UK. So Talita, over to you now.
Thank you, Zishan. Thank you everyone before who's given us such a comprehensive overview of what we can expect in the program. So I just want to tell you that my passion is really to help analytical professionals exactly like you with your leadership and interpersonal skills. And we've already seen from Zishan's slides that KPMG says how many of those CFOs are not good with the leadership skills, probably 41% weak leadership skills, and then weak interpersonal skills, 30%. So that's my mission, to help finance professionals with this. And I'll give you a little bit of an intro to myself and why I am uniquely qualified towards the end of my presentation. So just a couple of things from my side. Of course, we listen to McKinsey, to KPMG, to Deloitte, and all their insights on where CFOs need to be. But what I also did is my own research. During COVID in 2021, I interviewed 27 board directors to understand what is it that really is so important from a leadership perspective and a board perspective in leadership. And I've worked that into this program. And let's just go on to the next slide. What were the themes that emerged that is really important for a leader's future success? And before I go into that, I'd just like to tell you a little bit about how this program is structured, building on from what everyone else has said. This will be very uniquely tailored to you. Yes, we will definitely use models from leading thinkers and from their experiences, but what we will also do is very much share our own experiences, a toolkit with you, because there's absolutely nothing worse than actually not being able to implement things, knowing a theory, but not how to do it. And therefore, this module is really all about toolkit, working with your peers, understanding what is the leading thinking from leading thinkers, but then knowing how to implement that. And let's just look at a couple of these things. The first theme is really agility, and Mohammed has mentioned it already. And agility in the mindset. And in boards, this is often what I see holds the CFO and operations directors back, is that mindset agility to be able to think differently. So that's where the help will come from on this one. The second piece in there is purpose-driven leadership. And we'll talk multidimensional purpose-driven and how we engage teams through purpose and how we get more discretionary effort from our teams, because it's all about that team bonding, that team connection, that collaboration piece. The next piece is being an influential, connected leader. There's nothing worse than a CFO that can't convince people of why the business will fail. And I see that very, very often, and I coach many CFOs around helping them with that. It's being influential, knowing how to connect with people, although it might be outside our comfort zone, and how to be impactful in those arguments that we want to bring across so that people take us serious and don't just see us as the doom prophets or the people who always say no, but the people who are there to support and enable the business. Transformational strategic leader. I think we've already spoken about transformation. We all know the massive change agenda that is ahead of us as finance professionals, but I would like to give you a recipe. A recipe, no matter what the project is, what can I do to really ensure that I will have success, all related to behavioral change, all related to people, and combining years of transformation experience in disciplines and multidimensional across different types of companies, financial services, automotive, and really sharing how should we do that transformation. The strategic leader piece in this, and I won't duplicate what Mr. Khalid will do, but what I will do is help you with your decision-making around strategy, give you a couple of tools, use some of the really insightful things that I learned from Jeff Bezos, that I learned from Google when we did strategy at Google, sharing those aspects that will help you to make strategic decisions, even with low information states. The responsible, innovative leader. The world is changing faster than we can imagine. COVID has just shown us how things can really be very, very different to a year before. There's more challenges on environmental and social aspects, and we'll go through how you can have an impact in these areas and help your organization to have a greater impact and a greater footprint. Innovation. I use the work of Jamie Anderson, a leading specialist in this field, thinking about the healthy mind platter for innovation. It's really a totally different approach to drive innovation. The years of continued improvement, CIP, they're long gone. Those small little incremental steps won't get us where we need to go. Innovation is the way forward, and I'll help you to think about different ways. How can we do that innovation? How can we set ourselves up for success? And the last one is about being a reflective leader. When I work with boards, I say the two superpowers for a board director: reflection, self-awareness. If we don't have these two, we will be less successful than we can be in the boardroom. And therefore, helping you to work on that, helping you to, as Steve said, create that absolute development plan that you need, map your journey, but also use the McKinsey model of 3x3x3 accountability to make sure that you do these things that are really necessary to make you a better self-assessment leader and to also create that team culture that you need. And Mohammed Al-Robi already touched on how important that culture is from a business perspective, a business partnering perspective. So let's look at the the modules around this and when we will be delivering that. So our module 1 is the Agile Self-Transforming Mindset, leading from the inside out, and that will be on the 6th of August. We'll then talk individuals, connected relationships, continued consistent team development in our module 2. Module 3 and 4 will give us the culture of trust and safety that we need for high-performing teams, help us to anticipate the unknown future, and give us a flavor of responsible leadership. And the last model is about the innovation, the wider personal impact that you have in yourself and with your team, an assessment of yourself, and then mapping your own transformational journey. And with the wider personal impact, we use the work of Daniel Goldman, who is definitely the utmost authority on self-awareness and mapping these things out for lasting effect and impact. So why am I uniquely qualified to do this with you? So I have extensive board experience. As Mohammed Seshan said at the beginning, I've been the CFO and Chief People Officer for BMW Financial Services, and I've done award-winning cultural transformation programs. I'm currently a non-executive board director and chair of audit on the boards of 2 banks, a bank in the top 20 in the UK, and then a smaller, innovative bank that's transforming, growing, developing. So having similar challenges to many of you will face in growing organizations. I'm a trainer and consultant. I work for the Institute of Directors on their certificate program. I train directors, approximately 30 to 40 directors, depending on how many training sessions I do a month. And I train them in leadership and finance for non-financial directors. It's an accredited program for board directors. So I see the unique challenges that board directors face in everyday life, not just the CFOs. And then I also run a program for them about the changing role of the CFO, where we may basically look at all these things that Shesan has already said about what are the transformation places that we need to transform. So nothing like this brilliant program that we're speaking about here. Business coaching. So I also coach CFOs and high potentials. So I'm aware of those challenges that they face. I coach CEOs, and I've also coached some chief people officers during my career in the last 5 years. So I uniquely understand those challenges that directors face in the boardroom, that CFOs face, and of course the pain and the outside the comfort zone things that they are not willing to share with everyone. I know all those things, and this program has been designed to help people in those areas. So I'll hand over now to Seshan and stop sharing my screen.
Okay, thank you very much, Talida, for giving such an amazing overview of your very important, I think that's really important area that we are going to cover. And I think the very important thing, as you mentioned, the culture of trust, I would like to highlight, because this is where the CFO builds his trust with the non-finance business function. Because of course, CFO, he cannot work alone to achieve the strategic objectives of the organization, even to implement the strategy. And here for that collaboration, of course, a very strong culture of trust is required, really. Thank you very much, Dalida. Our next speaker and the trainer is supposed to be Robert, but I think we come to know due to some certain emergency, he is not able to join. So we will move on to our next instructor, who is Bill Anderson. I think he is with us already. And the Bill Anderson, actually, he is expert in the area of digital transformation, including cybersecurity, family offices. He has a very rich corporate experience, and he's consulting lots of organizations within this region, in the Middle East region. And before, he was in the Europe region. He was ex-CFO of Royal Bank of Scotland, and he's serving different clients and working on the implementation of digital transformation projects. So he's also going to bring a very rich corporate experience into this program. So without any further ado, I would like to hand over the session to Bill. Over to you now.
Thank you, Mohammed. Very impressed, everybody, tonight with all the very impressive slides for a conversation. I'm going to talk through a couple of the areas that I'm doing, but they're quite different. But before I jump into this, Mohammed said my background qualified in accounting practice initially, but worked primarily in the UK for about 15 years in the investments, corporate banking, investment banking, and investment management industries. And then subsequently, I took early retirement at 35 and then set up my own wealth practice, which is an award-winning wealth practice in Ireland, and got very heavily involved working with a number of VC firms, which were the footprints for American organizations for their investment into Europe. So I worked a lot with business, technology startups and business owners, rapidly growing technology in particular, to then internationalize them. And then I came across, obviously, some companies which we were setting up for international expansion, came to Dubai. Part of my practice also, my wealth practice, was around efficiency planning for high net worth clients. And obviously, because of the crash in 2008, 2009, worked a lot with high net worth clients to protect the assets that they had. And typically, coming from a family business myself, so many different family businesses who had very good businesses in terms of the operational side, but not particularly well set up for any change in the markets because of market crashes. And because I had worked in that space for many years in the UK, I started providing those types of services. Fast forward a couple of years, I set up an accounting and tax practice in the UAE. We won we won an award last November for the best accounting and tax practice for private clients in the region. That was basically voted on by a lot of the private banking clients that we work with. And again, the primary piece that we do, as well as providing the basic services around outsourced CFO, accounting, tax advice, obviously with things like corporate tax coming in, we help a lot of companies plan ahead for that. I also work with a multifamily office providing advice to companies. And again, one of the things that we're going to cover in the family office piece is, typically CFOs get involved on the business finance side of a family business, but there's a second part, which is the family wealth side. And again, looking at the differences in terms of typical family structures that we see in the region versus, say, across Europe or the US. What we do is we help companies put together what we consider from a best practices point of view, the right structures that are in place. We're living in very volatile times. So the reason why this is important is because a lot of companies, once the CFOs are working on maximizing their cash flow within the company itself, there's a huge exposure to a lot of the assets that we see companies holding. And typically we have people who are not necessarily experienced with risk and return methodologies and frameworks, who are more focused on balance sheet and P&L, trying to manage that side of the business. Outside of the actual assets itself, we're going to be talking to families about how we do succession planning And again, that's a different skill set than what we would typically see within the finance section. So these are the things that really, a business partner, CFO, really needs to start picking up on. It's not necessarily a reporting type issue. It's really, at the end of the day, people get into business to make money. And it's a lot easier to make it than it is holding on to it. So as we can see at the moment, because of the fluctuations, even with things like COVID, crypto, people they just don't plan for the downside. So having a CFO who's informed, of the best practices ensures that the family not only can make money in their businesses, but then in terms of their personal holding structures, have the right structure in place. And that's what we help them do. So that'll cover, the course itself will cover, how do we do an initial assessment to see where we're at? It'll then cover primarily in terms of an education point of view, what are the types of structures that best practice typically has, trusts and foundations, how do we set them up? What do they look like in the MENA region in particular? We'll do a little piece around asset and investment appraisal within that type of a structure, managing the family. Insurances, again, a very, very important part, because again, a lot of the families are not set up correctly when it comes to how they insure their assets. And then again, how to set up a specific type of family case study within the region. So that's the family office side, which is more connected with the wealth and the financial piece. We have a company outside of the accounting and tax firm that I have. I also set up a company called Business Improvement Group. And it does what it says in the tin. It was basically a management consultancy to help companies improve the way they operate. So very much focused on how they, what they do and how do they do it. Initially, it was very much strategic focused. So giving strategic advice to companies around how they are approaching the technology and how they apply it within their business. And then it started very much becoming a process around helping them deploy, understand, because obviously of the whole COVID process, it really accelerated quite quickly. Companies, for example, having to radically transform their businesses from paper and people into being more efficient and digitizing those processes. So two of the key areas, RPA and automation, robotic process automation. Again, it's a really great tool for CFOs to have at their fingertips. For a number of reasons, but primarily to realize cost savings very, very quickly, and to get efficiencies across their business in terms of repeatable type work that happens, which is very common across the middle and back offices for most organizations. And the difference between something like that and, for example, doing an ERP type of project is because it can happen very quickly. So, we work with companies replacing their ERP systems and improving them, but they're 1 to 2 year type projects. Automation can be done piecemeal. It can be done under a centralized approach, and that's really important. What we find, again, much of the time in the environment is technology department take it over, and they don't do it necessarily in a very coordinated way with the rest of the business. So again, it's a great opportunity for the CFO to embed into the business the right approach and center of excellence approach. So again, we typically sit with companies and explain to them how you approach it, how to coordinate your working with IT and the business, how to prioritize. We do ROI focused approaches as well. We do a demo of the actual processes being automated so people can see what it looks like. And then we give a live case study of a client that we've been working with in Saudi. And so, giving them all the tools so that when they approach this, they come at it from a very pragmatic point of view. The other area that we'll be doing as part of one of the modules will be cybersecurity. Again, overall, why is it important? This part of the world is one of the most exposed in terms of the amount of attacks that are happening. It's a growing trend, unfortunately. It's not an IT issue with a lot of people just kind of hand it over to their IT department. It is a business critical enterprise-wide issue. It's a boardroom issue. And again, it typically comes up when things go wrong. What we try and do is help companies to assess where they're at again so that they can measure themselves against an international standard. And typically try to explain to them, how do you think your business would survive and cope? If, for example, your email went down for a week, and most people would be horrified with that. But in many cases, when we've had companies being hacked, It's not just their emails down, it's their data has been stolen. And unfortunately, we've worked quite a lot, with companies who come to us after the event, and that's fine. What we try and do is get to companies so that they are, put a preventative process in place. Again, the benefits, it protects the company's assets, its data, and most importantly, its reputation. Reputation for many companies takes 20, 30 years to build. Typically, most companies do not know how to react if there's a breach. A lot of them delay, a lot of them don't report it correctly, a lot of them don't fix it properly. So we help companies look at that, and that's what the presentation and the courses will be about, which is to how do you approach it? How do you know where you sit? How do you assess that? What to do in breach? How do you protect your data? Staff training programs, again, really, really critical. And then what are the types of services that you should look at in terms of cost-effective approach to doing this? So, there's, from our point of view, I guess there are two quite different fields within this process. There's other areas which are related. And obviously, RPA is probably, an easy step into digital transformation for most companies. Obviously, digital transformation and business transformation go hand in hand. But because of COVID, and companies are really approaching how to digitize their business, COVID has really just accelerated that. So there will definitely be other aspects that we will, put in, but I think these are two pragmatic courses for CFOs to get a very good executive view of what they need to do and when to do it. Thank you. Mohammed, I'll hand back to you if you're there. Yep.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bill. I think that's one of the unique value that you will bring is the case studies from your own clients, where you have worked on the implementation of digital transformation projects, including cybersecurity and RPA and in the family offices. So I think that's what the aim is, to give practical insights and the hands-on experience of the challenges that the companies are facing during implementation. And I think that's what you are going to cover. So I think that will be a high value addition for the participants. Thank you very much, Bill. And I think that now our next instructor is who will be covering the module 4 is Dr. Prashant. I think he is on another training program that's we are actually running with him on another platform. So I believe he will be joining us after finishing that program shortly. Meanwhile, we can move on to our next instructor on that, who will be covering on the visualization tool, Mr. Muhammad Kashif. If you can please share your overview and your introduction.
Thank you, Mohammed. Let me try to share my screen. Can my screen is visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mohammed, for this amazing overview, and it's an amazing and exciting list of topics which is covered in this course. I will be discussing the topic of CFO dashboard in Power BI, and it will be included in module 5. Let me give you an overview of myself. So my name is Mohammed Kashif. I'm an international corporate trainer, FP&A expert, a BA expert as well, has overall experience of about 17 years, worked in corporates and public sector as well, and also worked as a consultant for international development partners like USA, JICA, and EDP. I have worked in finance departments in all other areas as well, for instance, procurement, analytics, business development as well. I'm also a founder of Kaizen Analytics LLP. And this organization was formed three years back. So I have trained more than 480 participants in live sessions in Power BI. I'm a Udemy instructor as well. And I also have a liberty of giving some executive coaching to CFOs, especially in Middle East. So this is a brief overview of about myself. Let me move forward with the topic for this section. So my topic is CFO dashboard in Power BI. The term CFO is definitely, it's kind of very happening term, so all the professionals are very well aware of it. So let me just dissect the two things, dashboard and Power BI, and discuss them one by one. So once if I see a dashboard in my eye and I imagine, so the thing which comes in my mind is a dashboard of a car. So a dashboard of a car is very important, and we tend to see in our childhood as well. So if I can define a dashboard, it is a central panel. It's in the center of a car, and it is always in front of a driver. In our terms, because we are working on a course, so we can replace driver as a decision maker. It only shows some important KPIs which are relevant to the driver. For instance, it shows in these some oil pressure, some tire pressure, some engine pressures. But if the same car goes to an auto workshop, and once they plug in the computers, the same car will show some detailed elements which are definitely much more detailed, which are not shown to the driver in the console. They can review the roof, suspension, paints, brakes. So this is a very important element that in a CFO dashboard, if we dissect the word dashboard for a CFO, the important thing is it should be centered. It should always be in front of it. It is for a decision maker, so it should have only the important broader strategic KPIs. So if you have discussed the word dashboard, let me just move on to another word, which is Power BI. So it's a happening word. There much buzz about that word. There are other tools as well. So if we are thinking that we are doing some decision-making work, so there are certain questions which come in our mind, business questions. Then we want to analyze the data, whether it is finance data or whether it is a business data. We want to present that data for a decision maker in front of the boards. That there is an important thing, how that presentation or how that dashboard is designed, how much time it consumes, because you can develop the things in Excel. It is always over there, but there are certain analysis which take too much time of them, and there are some reporting which are done on a regular basis. So these are the things which are very important, tools and time management. So let me just park this concept of CFO dashboard in Power BI for a while, and let's discuss about the tool. So if we are thinking about a chef, so there are two types of chef. There are, if we discuss two types of chef, for instance, pastry chef and a pantry chef, they use knives as a tool. But for a pantry chef who works for items like in cold, like salads, their knives are different for those chefs, like a pastry chef. So this is the same case which we should, as a finance profession, should consider. We are using different tools, and we are using tools like Excel, and it is an evergreen tool. There are lots of updates which are happening in Excel, so it will be there for us. But it's important to us to understand that, are there any other tools which can save our time, which can save the time of our team, because the participants will be either they will be CFOs or they will be reporting to CFOs. So they should know whether there is other tools apart from Excel. Yes, there are tools, BI tools apart from Excel, like Power BI. Power BI is a tool which is owned by Microsoft. There are other tools as well, like this one, Tableau, ClickSense. So now let's go back to the same, some of the questions which I have asked earlier. Business question in my mind, the data, how I integrate the data of finance and business, how I present the data to the decision making, and how much time it will take. As far as The data is concerned, Power BI is an amazing tool, and it is updating regularly on monthly basis. And this is a very hard task, which is done by the amazing team of Microsoft. And there are more than 100 data sources which it can connect. So it is continuously updating. So the numbers will go on a bit. So whether your data is at any cloud base or on any ERPs. I worked with different clients in Middle East, so there are some of the problems which we do face is that they have the companies, they have the holding companies. Some of the companies are old, they have their own ERPs which are developed in house. Then they have purchased some imported ERPs like SAP. So how they will integrate that one? So they and the holding companies over there, they tend to have a problem how they can extract information and have have the analytics at this one page. So that is easily done in Power BI, no problem at all. Then there is how to present data. So that the Power BI, because I've said that Power BI team is working hard, and they are continuously updating own visuals, on features. So they are, last time I've checked, there are around 320 plus custom visuals. There are inbuilt visuals as well, which are there in most of them are in Excel, but the capabilities are much more enhanced. Then there are some other features as well. For instance, you can zoom in and zoom out from the dashboard. So you can always just hide a chart behind a chart, where some of the important information is hidden behind a chart. And if in a board or any high level meeting, if they want to discuss some details, so you can always just go back over your mouse, or you can just drill down a bit. So that's an important feature over there as well. Then there are some inbuilt artificial intelligence visuals in Power BI, and Smart Narrative is the latest one. And these are low code, no formula based visuals. Like you can ask questions, and these are called as artificial intelligence visuals because they tend to learn from your questions, and they will improve themselves. So if you ask some questions, it can give you answers, and it can be relative. Then there is key influencers, where you can always analyze what is the influence of sales, what influence the element, means sales, profit, to increase or decrease. So it will give you some charts, some elements right away. You can always do the dissecting of various elements, decompose them, and want to see where is the problem. So decomposition tree is there. And the latest one, which is a Smart Narrative. Smart Narrative tends to give you an overview where you will not leave the numbers behind. And definitely one of our experts, Mr. Alru, we will discuss that you shouldn't be leaving numbers behind. You should always give context to your numbers. And it will become amazing if that context become dynamic. So you can just click on any of the parameters, and the words will change according to your own selection. So this is one of the new features of Smart Narrative, which is definitely adding more values to the dashboard, and which is filling up the gap of data storytelling which was missing in this one. So in CFO dashboards, we will be discussing in detail about financial statement analysis, Pareto analysis, business scenario analysis, customer and product profitability analysis. So we'll discuss these things and we'll try to make certain dashboards from scratch and guide them how they can create dashboards and how it will help them in decision makings. Thank you. So that is from my side. So I will hand over the.
Okay, thank you very much, Kashif, for giving the overview of Power BI. And I think obviously without tools, as you mentioned, obviously even the CFO office cannot work. And also it is very important for CFO to understand these new tools like Power BI and AI-based analytics, how they can leverage these tools and how their team can use it to become a better business partner. So that's what in the next, now we have our next instructor, Mr. Robert, who has joined us recently now from USA, and he is representing the Aurora Predictions and Finance Analytics Institute, and they are covering actually lots of material, lots of content in the CFO leadership program, including in module 3. I will show you that includes finance analytical transformation. So we have a full on-demand course where we will be giving you the access from Finance Analytics Institute, and also Mr. Robert, he will be having some live office hours with all of the participants, and he will be covering a very interesting and emerging area of analytics dashboard. That's what he is going to cover. That is quite different from the balanced scorecard, that is more qualitative in nature. And that's really the amazing concept of analytics dashboard. And you will see it's how its predictive power is how it can make use of predictive analytics and prescriptive and use of analytics. So that's what Robert is going to cover. So Robert, without any ado, over to you now.
Thank you, Mohammed, and thanks for everyone for being here. And I'm just happy to be here right now, because if it wasn't for Steve Roswell who called me, I wouldn't know. I've been in Outlook purgatory for the last 2 days, and don't know where I've been, don't know where I'm at without a calendar. So I got here in the last minute, and I'll go through the things that Mohammed was kind to talk about just briefly. So I'll share my screen. All right, good. So there are 2 things I'm going to talk about. Is the first, just an overview of Aurora and Finance Analytics Institute. Aurora Predictions has a technology platform. It's an AI-enabled analytics platform. It's special because it's intuitive to use. It's a no-code, intuitive environment, and all the analytics and all the AI is built in, so you don't have to do any coding, you don't have to do any connections. You load the data, the AI builds the model, and then delivers the insights. So no need for data science or statistic skills. And we can take the data from spreadsheets or whatever. And the interesting thing is the first book that I wrote with my co-founder of the Finance Analytics Institute, Jesper Sorensen, which is implementing an analytics culture for data-driven decisions, that kind of led to the development of Aurora Lights, which is our product. So it was studying and researching the problems in finance to do digital transformation and to adapt led to creation of the product. And the second part is the Finance Analytics Institute. And here we teach the how-to, if you will, how to implement a culture of data-driven decisions using analytics. And we have the book, of course, but we also developed a course over many years called the Analytics Academy. And the Analytics Academy actually stemmed from the book. We said, after we wrote the book, we said, we really need a way to teach this in more of a collegiate kind of setting. And so from that, we created the Analytics Academy, which when it started was a live 2-day program of 19 courses and 21 hours of training. And then with the pandemic, we said, well, we can't get together anymore. So we actually made it an on-demand program. So now where there are 3 modules of the Analytics Academy, and I'll talk about that in a moment. And so we also did, along with Larry Mazzell, a second book called AI-Enabled Analytics for Business, because what we learned is we had to separate the, if you will, managers, directors, analysts, and executives. And the second book, AI-Enabled Analytics for Business, is for executives, because 2 out of 3 analytics projects fail, and they fail because of executive decisions. That's the bad news. The good news is all these decisions are common. All the modes of failure are common. and they could be distilled and quantified so that they could be avoided. And therefore, we wrote the book. We give executives vision, voice, and value, vision, voice, and clarity, the value of analytics, and we teach them the roadmap of how to implement analytics. So what we're just going to cover today really quickly is the Analytics Academy first and what we call office hours. So the Analytics Academy, and then of course the CFO dashboard, which I'll talk about. So first is our FAI, Finance Analytics Institute Analytics Academy. And you can see this from the HOFT website, and it's also on the Aurora website. And there's a tremendous amount of information on it. And not only is there written words, but there's also videos which comment about the program overall, as well as comment about each of the specific modules. So it's a wonderful program. Module 1 is designed to teach you, give you the vision, voice, and clarity, right, to the value of analytics and the components of building an analytics culture, of mindset, people, process, systems. So module 1 is the fundamentals. And then in module 2, we get into more of the specifics about, we call systematic thinking. So when you're doing analytics, you know, how you have to think about your business and your data in order to deliver analytics to improve business performance. We call that systematic thinking. And then we also talk about storytelling, and storytelling in particular to executives. And then in the third module, we get more in depth with a variety of other things that we learned in the first 2 modules, but we take them more in depth in module 3. So it's a wonderful academy. We have a certificate program at the end. It's truly wonderful. It's developed over a course of years. And it really has a tremendous just acceptance by the people who have taken it. Now, what we'll do here is that you'll take the Academy on demand, and then what we'll be doing is holding what we call office hours. So periodically, we will get together, and what I will do is I will give you a 15, 20-minute presentation on what I think are the most important things that you should take away from each of the modules. And then we get into a very exciting open roundtable discussion where people share their thoughts and experiences. In other words, we talk about what we learned in the Academy, how to apply that in business. People share their experiences in what they're doing in their business. They learn from each other. They learn about the problems they've encountered. We talk about solutions when you encounter a certain block in your path. We also talk about it for your career, how you can apply this and improve your career and your process flow. So it's a wonderful thing. Looking forward to everyone taking it, the Analytics Academy, and also looking forward to the office hours. They're wonderful, they're exciting, and we'll have very lively discussions. The second part that Muhammad mentioned is the CFO dashboard of the finance transformation. And we like to say CFO dashboards, it's not what you think. And if we take a dashboard like this is a dashboard from Tableau. They call it their executive dashboard. And it's got a lot of stuff in it, as you can see. Now, this is one for IT. So it's talking about IT incidents, IT problems, IT requests. And then under each of the incidents, you could see there's a breakdown of the various types of incidents. Now, what we have to distinguish is dashboards that are largely informative. They're based on arithmetic, but they are not insightful. Insightful has a very specific meaning. To gain insights, we have to apply mathematics on data to tell us something that we don't know that will affect our decision. So there's dashboards that are informative, and they're largely based on arithmetic. And there's dashboards that are insightful because they're based upon mathematics. So we will distinguish the differences between visualization, which is arithmetical, and insightful dashboards based upon mathematics, which will actually affect our decision making. And what we see here and we'll talk about in the studies that are out there, this is just one, that the majority of analytics usage, half of all the analytics usage, is specifically for better decision making. And again, in the insights are mathematics applied on data that tell us something we don't know. And when we know it, will change our decision or will affect our decision. But you can see all the other uses are essentially decisions. Although if you had a bar graph like this one over here, the primary use for analytics is in decision making. Makes sense. Now, when we talk about decision making, we have to discuss, and we'll discuss this in the course, decision theory. And we have to talk about the work, the Nobel Prize winning work from Daniel Kahneman, who was a psychologist and economist. And he wrote a very important book called Thinking Fast and Slow, because we use thinking fast, let's say when we go to the grocery store and we're buying groceries, oh, we want this, we want this. Thinking fast, it's intuitive, it's instinctive, and it's things that we normally do in our life. Thinking slow is what we think we do in business, which is analytical, and what we think is unbiased. But our decision-making processes in business are actually very biased. And so what we're going to talk about is we have to be able to identify our biased decision-making that we do today and we do naturally, and we don't notice it. So part of what we're going to talk about is decision-making and the biases that creep in and how we can use analytics to mitigate our biases to make better decisions. And we need to make better decisions because the way we do our decision-making today and the way we do our planning today results in a $242 billion shortfall from wasted labor, from errors, and from under-optimized planning. Now, this, despite the fact that in North America, specifically, $500 billion, $500 billion every year is spent on state-of-the-art enterprise software, whether it's data visualization, business intelligence, ERP systems, CRM systems, inventory systems, whatever it be. We're spending $500 billion a year. And yet, as you can see in this graph, we have an average 35% error in our demand forecast. 35%. The range is 20 to 42%. So 20 to 42% error we make in our demand forecasting, even with $500 billion of expenditures. And everything from that cascades. In other words, we carry excess, if you will, buffer stock. We have 20% buffer stock in our materials. We have 20% more in finished goods, which creates 25% on average excess and obsolete inventory. And in spite of all these excesses, we still lose about 2.5% of our sales to stockouts. So this is the $242 billion problem that exists today, given the state-of-the-art technology that we have. Now, there's a solution to this. The solution is today using AI-enabled analytics that can dive deep into data and discover patterns. And so these are the things that are the next generation of technology. And we need to now be able to have vision, voice, and clarity, the value of analytics, the practicality of analytics, and to learn how to incorporate these into our organizations through the components of mindset, people, process, and systems that we teach in the academy. And then in our CFO dashboard course, we'll start going through these other things that I just mentioned about learning about our biases, about learning the difference between visualization and analytics, and understanding the impact that they cause. We'll also go over the balanced scorecard. Now, many of you are already using balanced scorecard today. In fact, one of my co-authors on the second book, AI-enabled analytics for business, was part of the team that created the balanced scorecard along with Dr. Kaplan. And the balanced scorecard is wonderful because it tells us how we define our strategy and how we connect the strategy to key performance indicators, and then how we use our organization tactically in order to achieve the KPIs, to achieve our strategic themes. So we build a strategy map in the balanced scorecard that has a strategic theme, that has a KPI, and through the various disciplines, we create these actions and their relationships that drive the KPI to drive the strategic theme. So this is a beautiful thing, the balanced scorecard. The problem is the balanced scorecard has a major flaw. That major flaw is first the assumption that these activities in the different operational groups actually affect the KPI that we're seeking to measure, and which leads to the strategic theme. The other part of it is that these relationship lines are indeed true. So this is all part of a, quote, bias assumption that has no basis or actually has no mathematical basis. It's based upon our operating judgment. And that means our biases are included. So while many of them are true, some of them are not true. And some of the relationships are not true. And therefore, in our book, our new book, AI-enabled analytics for business, we create the concept of the analytics scorecard. And the analytics scorecard actually mathematically tests all these activities and their relationships to assure that they, one, do exist, number two, the strength of which they relate to one another, and the third thing is a threshold. In other words, are there some relationships that don't exist until they reach a certain point? For example, increased customer satisfaction does, in this case, improve customer churn, but only when customer satisfaction hits a level of 80% or higher. So here in our book, we're going to cover some of these key topics because as we write in the book, analytics is without analytics, businesses cannot remain competitive and will be at risk of making decisions that fail to recognize market opportunities, ineffectively deploy capital, and misallocate staff resources to low-level values. So we're going to learn about some of these various areas, and then we combine it all, and we learn the differences between visualization and analytics, decision-making, the balanced scorecard, the analytics scorecard. We put that all together to create an analytics dashboard that will be insightful. And as we like to say, you can react to the future when it arrives, or you can plan to make the future happen. So that's what we'll be covering both in the Analytics Academy, in the office hours, and the CFO dashboard. With that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mohammed.
Thank you very much, Robert, for giving such an amazing, overview in such a short time. And I think that's the main crux of this program, that we are going to cover in depth and understanding of the strategy, as well as by leveraging analytics using different use cases. And as you mentioned, we will be discussing the scorecard and analytics scorecard, and that we will be covering in our module 5 of this program. So I think we are already over time. So I will quickly obviously, as all of the instructors, they have already gone through the entire program now at a very high level on all of these 5 modules, as you can see on your screen. And there are also electives available, as you can see, on merger acquisition, fundraising. This is, we give you the choice if you want, as per your requirement. If there is a need in your career, in your organization, you can choose any of your electives. These are optional, and these are the core mandatory modules and the topics that you can take. And the instructors, we have already gone through all the instructors. You got the introduction from them, and the certificates that will be issued is from the CFO.University from Washington, D.C., USA. You will be getting certified from there, and it will be used for your CPD hours, or if you want to claim. And these are the timings. You can visit the website. And obviously, all of the faculty we have already covered, except Dr. Prashant, who will not able to join us. But we will be inviting a couple of guest speakers from, like, the CFO of IBM, Sadia, Anand Soni. They will be also acting as our mentors. And apart from this, we will be also inviting the CEOs, because it is very important to understand what CEOs are expecting from their CFOs, right? And that's because CFO has to partner with the CEO. So that's where we will not talk about any theoretical stuff, what CEOs or any articles. We will invite the CEOs of the companies who will and we will discuss with them through a brainstorming session, panel discussions, what they are expecting from the CFOs, from the CFO office. And that's what we will be having, a panel discussion between the CEOs and the CFOs and the participants. Everyone, they will be participating. So that's the main aim of this program. It's not going to be a traditional training program where you are just going to get lots of training material. You will be engaged in each and every topic. You will be highly engaged. You will be engaged in the exercises, group discussions. So as our main aim is for the skills development, not only to give you the knowledge, but how you can bring change and transformation in your organization after attending this program. So that's what our aim is. And lots of already professionals, as if you see, visit our website from different parts of the world, from Italy, from Europe, from Africa, different parts of the world. They have already embarked on their transformation journey after attending our programs and our workshops. So that's all, I think. And now we are already over time. Sorry for that, because of course we have to cover lots of instructors, and of course we cover just a very high level overview. And you can visit our website of global.co, and you can go through the entire program and reach out to our team for any further details. So if any questions Ahmed Khair asked about the fees of the program. Okay, let me go through quickly about the fees of the program. It's in the end. If you see, there are different pricing options available. This is the total price. There is early bird discount available also until 31st of May. You can avail, and we make it a very flexible payment plan of 9 months. So because of course this is not within everyone's budget to spend the whole amount at one time. So we give a very flexible payment plan of 9 months where we can easily just pay and go, and you can pay it on a monthly basis. And then if you would like to take additional optional elective, there will be the cost of 500 for additional elective. So this is the pricing structure that whatever suits you, you can just have a look at it. And if any questions there, please feel free to unmute or drop your question now in the chat box. We can have 1 or 2 minutes and then we can wrap up the session. Any questions, comments, please leave your message or just unmute yourself regarding the program, overall program, what you have seen. Okay, so I don't think so. I think some people are on social media as well, so we can take their questions offline. And of course, we are available. Our customer support is available through WhatsApp, through email. So you can just reach out and for any questions relating to the program, and all the details are available here. And once again, we thank you, all of you, for your time. And sorry for being a bit over time by almost 15 minutes. So we will be having the sessions live starting from the 2nd of July. And we look forward to take you on board on the exciting program. Thank you, all the instructors, for your time to present your overview of your each module. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Zishan.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Zishan.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.